Okay, so the next workflow trigger that we're going to be talking about is a webhook because webhooks are super, super powerful. Like I said, you pretty much link them to somewhere else, and you then have the ability to be actively listening for anytime anyone sends information over. It'll trigger this workflow because a lot of times you want to use n8n as the back end application to take place a lot of logic based on things that are happening on your website or through a different service, or even if you want to use something like a voice API, you're going to want to use a webhook. So we're going to click on add first step to add our trigger. Of course, we're going to click on add webhook call, and so this is the kind of stuff that it can start to feel a little overwhelming, right? Because you've got all this information here. You've got a ton of different endpoints. You'll hear people talk about APIs all the time. I'll break down APIs later in this classroom section, but also made a video on YouTube called Understanding APIs, I think, for beginners. So that could be a great one to go watch. I do a couple examples of HTTP requests and showing the API endpoints and how you can look at pretty much any software or website has like API documentation. Well, if they have public endpoints that are exposed for you to access, and if you can access these different endpoints, you're able to pretty much send information around, have different websites, different services talk to each other, which is why they're so powerful. So we've got a URL right here, as you can see, and then we have a different method. So the main ones you're going to be using are get and post. So you've got stuff like patch to update, you've got deleting, but get and post are going to be your main ones. Get is just think of it as you want to get information, and post is we're going to be sending information. So this is where I would get confused because in n8n right here, we're doing a trigger where we want to get information, but we're actually going to set this up as a post request. And this is because we're going to give a different service this URL as a post request URL for that service to send information. So it's a little confusing, but it'll start to make sense just as you do more methods and as you look at different API documentation, you'll understand. So anyways, we're going to call this path test. And this is just to show you that all this does is change the actual URL. It doesn't really matter what the path is. You could have this be an expression if you want to just keep your URLs organized or something like that. It could also just be a bunch of gibberish, and it's going to be a bunch of gibberish up there. But anyways, let's keep it clean. We'll call this one test. You have the option to make people authenticate themselves before sending information over to your application in n8n. And then we have an ability to respond where we can do as soon as the last node executes, or we can respond back to the service. So like I'll show an example of a voice agent where we're talking to the post request. So it's going to send information to n8n, and then we want n8n to respond back to the voice so that the voice can continue to have a conversation with the human. So for now, let's just do this webhook. We're going to click on this post request so that we can copy it. And right now we're going to be in a test environment, and we're going to paste this URL into, I'm just on Postman, which is just a place where you can sort of test out your requests and stuff like that. So we have our webhook in here, right? And so what we're going to do is hit listen for test event in n8n. We go back to Postman and we hit send. We will see the workflow was started. This got sent. We have a code of 200, which is successful. Anything in the 200s is usually good. Anything in the 400s is usually bad. But as you can see, we got this request back. So this is information that came back from the URL. We can see it got sent to nateherc.app n8n cloud. We have like different tokens. We have different probably timestamps and all this information. The URL, as you can see, this is the URL we copied here. It ends in /test. But we don't have nothing was actually sent through. So normally when you're setting up these requests, you're going to set up body parameters, which is the body JSON script that we're going to be sending from one service to another that usually has information we're looking for. So let's say back in this Postman request, let's say that we set up this webhook to be a form on your website. You're going to have like the key is going to be name. We'll have, Bobby. Then we're going to have what's your phone number? Then we're going to get something like 123, 123, something like that. Okay. I don't know why I was saying 123. Anyways, then you're going to ask something like an email address, and you'll get this. And so now we have body parameters. As you can see, we've got header, authorization, body. So what we're going to do is we're going to send this over, but keep in mind that this is currently a test URL. When you want to make the workflow active, all you're going to do is switch over to production. You're going to copy this into here rather than the test. But anyways, if you don't click listen for event while you're testing, it's not going to work. So we'll send this off and look what we're going to get. 404. Like I said, 400 is not good. Anyways, we go back to n8n, we hit test workflow, and now we click send over here, we'll get a 200. The workflow was started, and back in N8N, we should have got that form data right here. We've got name, Bobby, phone number, as well as his email address. And so then if we had logic to take place, like different agents that would create an email to Bobby based on a knowledge base we hook up potentially, or any other form data we already have information on him, or any new offers that we have, we would be able to send that off because the workflow got triggered. So finally, let's push this one into production. So now this one's active. Like I said, it won't be looking for this anymore. We're going to grab this production URL, post it in here rather than the test one, and let's hit send. So we got a 200. It's okay. It's not going to come through here, but if we go to the executions, we should have seen this one just come through. And maybe I should have switched the data because it's still going to be Bobby. Let's change this one to Lucy. We'll send over that request. And remember, this one's active, so we should get a new execution coming in. There we go. We just got the execution for Lucy. As you can see, we've got Lucy's form information that she just filled out, which is perfect. Okay, so that's how this one works. Let us turn off the activation. I'm going to get rid of this guy. I'm just going to open up a new N8N, and we're going to do a quick example of the voice agent. So let's see. We're going to do the voice RAG agent. And so right here, what we have is a test URL, right? So here's the URL that we're going to take, and we're going to copy into this voice agent. It's got a tool, N8N, which is a webhook, and this is the URL right here that we see in N8N. So we got the post request because 11 Labs is sending information to N8N. And then we're filling out our body parameters. Once again, we always have like the headers, the authorization. But right now, like I said, we're just kind of focusing on body, which is just going to be sending over one thing, which is a question. So as you can see, the key is question, and then the actual value of the question is going to be extracted by this voice agent when we're talking to it to send over information. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to hit listen for test event. And then we're going to start talking to this agent, and we're going to be asking a question. So, hey, Eric, can you tell me about project one? Okay, so I'm going to stop that because now it would be running the logic to actually tell us about project one. But the point is that we got that request back. As you can see, the body parameters right here got filled out. The key was question, and the value was going to be dynamic based on what we said to the agent. And the agent figured out that what we were asking was tell me about project one. So that's why it filled out the body parameter as this. This would then feed into the agent as, the user is asking for project one information. It would search the database right here. It would search this database for project information, and then it would respond to us with an answer. So like if I look at an execution right here, let's go back to the 12th of January. You can see what came in was what is the status of the marketing dashboard project. And then it went here, got the information, and then it responds to the webhook with the marketing dashboard project is currently on track. And then back in 11 Labs, the agent responds back to us with, hey, the marketing dashboard project's on track. Anything else I can help you with? So that's how that works. Hopefully you've got a better grasp on what webhooks are and how they work now. And should make your life easier when you start to look at, integrating some HTTP requests in as tools and stuff like that. So thanks for watching this one.